Welcome back to a Madman Big Finish review, a video series where I review some of the latest Big Finish releases. For this week's video, I'm going to be talking about Purity Unleashed, the latest in the Sixth Doctor Adventures range. Now, this is comprised of 3 stories. It's continuing on from the cliffhanger from the previous box set, Purity Undreamed. The latest companion for the Sixth Doctor, Hebe, has just gone missing, seemingly erased from time. So now with Purity Unleashed, the Doctor and Mel are traveling to find out what has happened to Hebe, what has caused her to vanish from the timelines. So Purity Unleashed is comprised of 3 stories. As usual, I'm going to go spoiler-free as possible. There's also an interlude that was included with this box set. Unfortunately, I haven't had time to listen to it yet. I probably should have. It's a Gary Russell written interlude, so I'm probably missing out on something really good. So I'm sorry about that, but I have at least listened to these 3 main stories for Purity Unleashed. So starting off with our first story, Broadway Belongs to Me by Matthew Sweet. The Doctor and Mel begin their search for Hebe in 1930s New York, where history is taking a dark turn all of its own. On Broadway, they discover a genuine apparition of the time strings. Behold America! A hot shoe show set in a future fascist United States, starring Melanie Bush, opening tonight. Now, this is a very weird story, and I'll explain why. So it feels like it does the bare minimum to set up the ongoing story arc, which is what happened to Hebe. The Doctor and Mel trying to figure out why she's vanished from time, why she's erased. It does the bare minimum to that. But the story itself feels so out of place compared to the next 2 stories in this box set. I feel like this feels like a story that was just written to be just standalone by itself. But when they were putting together these stories for Purity Unleashed, it's like, okay, we have to somehow connect this to the ongoing story arc. So we'll throw it in there that this is where they're starting their search for Hebe, just here. And it really does feel out of place. It just doesn't belong. This could have been just a story by itself. But saying that, the stories are not bad. I found it interesting. It was a very engaging story, and I like the kind of twist with the villains, their motivation against the Doctor, and the Doctor's reaction to them. I found quite, a bit funny. But yeah, I wouldn't say this is a particularly strong, in my opinion, a strong start to this box set. Like I said, it really does kind of do the bare minimum to set up everything. Not much more I can say about Broadway Belongs to Me, other than it is a fine story. Everyone did a great job on it, but it does feel like a very weak introduction. Moving on to our second story, Purification by Chris Chapman. The Doctor and Mel follow the trail to a port in New Zealand 1910. A ship is being prepared for a journey to Antarctica, and the Doctor realizes that this is Captain Scott's Terra Nova expedition. But this is merely the beginning of an intricate scheme to rewrite the future of humanity. So we get our reintroduction of the character Patricia McBride. She was in the previous box set, Purity Undreamed. She was a one-time companion to the Doctor. He took her, for spoilers for Purity Undreamed, but it's been out for a while, so spoilers for Purity Undreamed. She was offered to travel in time. She was taken to the future, shocked by what the future was. The Doctor kind of believed it could just be somewhat like culture shock, or just not fathoming like this is the future. This is just so different. But it turns out she holds very, very bigoted views about people she doesn't think are normal. So particularly people of like disabilities, homosexuality. She puts up with them in the hopes that in the future that they are fixed. So rightly so, the Doctor is not happy with her. It's very angry that she has these views, and yeah, rightly so. It's very bigoted, unfortunate views for someone to have. They shouldn't. There's nothing wrong with people with disabilities, homosexuality, etc. It goes without saying. So, one-off companion, very, wrong in her beliefs, but at the end of the story, she gains access to a time suit, and that around that same time is when Hebe vanishes. So we are reintroduced to Patricia as our antagonist for Purity Unleashed. Now, the story itself, I'd say this was probably the strongest story in this box set. It's very engaging, very interesting. Patricia is a very kind of twisted villain. She believes she's doing right by saving lives, so she is changing, like, what she perceives as kind of like minor parts of time where it's like, okay, this won't really change a lot, but it being time, of course, is going to be, it's the smallest ripple could have the biggest effect and all that stuff. So she's changing history for what she believes is the better, and it is leading up to like an eventual plan for this, better world that she wants, where everyone is normal, how she wants everyone to be. So a very twisted villain that she thinks she's right in what she does, and tries to call out the Doctor on his hypocrisy of like, oh, you have this time machine, you can travel through time, but you're not saving people. Like, these are people, you should save them. It's like, well, it's not like the Doctor doesn't want to, but it's time. History has to follow its place. So it's a dilemma that the Doctor will always face. That he would want to, whichever Doctor would want to save someone, but if time dictates that they can't, it's an unfortunate circumstance. Now, we've seen what happens when the Doctor has tried to save someone that is, destined to die because history says so. With Waters of Mars has been one of the biggest examples. But the story itself, really good reintroduction for Patricia and setting her up as the antagonist, and leading into our finale, which is Time Burst by Ian Potter. Tracking the anomaly that erased Hebe from history, the Doctor and Mel find an instability in Sheffield, 1864. Who is Mrs. Virtue, the mysterious owner of the new steelworks, and can the Doctor untwist history before a natural disaster washes them all away? Now, I have two feelings with this. It's a good finale to the box set, but again, it ends on another cliffhanger. The overall story arc is not done. That's the only real spoiler I'll give you, is that it's not actually done yet. But the story, I think it was a fine story. It's okay. It's a nice little wrap up to Purity Unleashed and setting up to a next box set. I kind of wish the story would have ended here, but of course we can't. We still got more in this Purity saga, I'll call it, Purity arc. Consider the first one was called Purity Undreamed, and we have Purity Unleashed. Purity being the central theme and motivation for our villain Patricia. But no, I think the story is fine. It's okay as a conclusion. I just wish it was an actual conclusion to the story arc. But I think it was fine. It was alright. That's what I'll say. But overall, with Purity Unleashed, everyone did a fantastic job. All the performances were great. The stories were definitely a mix. You had a weak start, you had a really strong middle, you had an okay end. So if I were to give it a rating, I'd say probably a solid 7 out of 10 for Purity Unleashed. I did like parts of it. Hopefully the next box set is the end. I don't really like drawn out story arcs a lot. No, unless it kind of can justify itself for being drawn out so much. But I feel like with Purity Unleashed, you could have probably ended it here. But we'll see. We'll have to see if it's somewhat justified in the next box set that it needed to continue for a little bit longer. But yeah, 7 out of 10. The cover itself for Purity Unleashed. I love the art style. I like the cover. Can they get another picture of Ruth Madley as Hebe? It's always the same picture. It irks me for 3 box sets in a row. It's just the same picture. That's my only criticism of the cover. Other than that, I think it's a fine cover. But that is all for this review. Thank you everyone for watching. If you have listened to Purity Unleashed, what were your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure to check out our weekly live streams. Check out any of the previous videos that I have done or my co-hosts have done, if they've done any. And I will see you all in the next one. Ciao.